Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 9th April 2025. So let's get started with our discussion, and before that I want to remind you one thing, guys. So we are running free demo classes in our academy for prelims cum mains foundation course of 2026, and yesterday itself this demo class had been started and we are running till April 12th. So try to utilize this opportunity. If it is possible, you can visit our academy, or else you can watch on online by downloading our Rathod Science Academy app, and the app link is given in description box. Don't forget, guys. And the timings of this class is 2:30 to 5:30 p.m. Okay, now let us see the first article. So see the title, guys. Yeah, if you see the title, what it says, SC, that is Supreme Court slams Tamil Nadu governor, fixes time for assent. So what are the keywords here? So here you can see about Supreme Court. And second one is one more important personality, that is governor of Tamil Nadu state. And this one is they are talking about assent. So have you seen these three words in your subject? Yes. In which subject? In polity. Okay, let me write those three important things. First one is Supreme Court. So first word you can see is about Supreme Court. And second word, what you can see, it is about governor. And third word here is assent. Okay, so from which subject you will be seeing all these three keywords? From GS paper to under polity, you will be seeing these topics. Okay, where you will be seeing about the Supreme Court? We have a chapter called as judiciary. So in India, which kind of judiciary we have? Independent and integrated judicial system. So in our country, which is the top court? Supreme Court. Which is the top court in states? We have high courts. In districts, which courts we have? District courts or subordinate courts. And here again, we are dividing it into two types. What are they? We have civil courts and we have criminal courts. And which is the topmost court? That is Supreme Court. Okay, why here Supreme Court is involved? Let us dig deep. So if you are talking about the three important organs of the government, what are they? We have three important organs. So first one is executive, second one is legislature, and third one is judiciary. So what are the works of these three organs? What this executive will do? Executive will implement the laws. So what are the laws which already made? So who will implement that? That is executive. But who will make the laws? Here we have legislature. It will make the laws. So making of laws and implementing of laws, is that important? We have to see whether that laws are according to our constitution or not, right? So who will be saying that? That is judiciary. What is the work of this judiciary? It will be interpreting the laws. That means it will check whether the laws made and whether the laws implemented, they are according to the provisions of our constitution or not. If they are according to our constitution, it's okay. But if it is not according to constitution, then what it will do? It will make null and void. It will say like it is unconstitutional. It is not according to the constitution. It will be stacking down. It will be making that so and so law or so and so act stuck down by the Supreme Court. So this is about the three important organs of our government or state. Okay. So now why governor is in use? So actually, if you see about legislature in this state, if you see about state executive, so who will be there? So we have two houses, right? So which are the houses at the state level? Okay, now if you see about the houses at the central level, so which houses we have? We have two houses. Lok Sabha we have and Rajya Sabha we have. And at the state level, we have again two houses. So what are they? State Legislative Assembly we have and Legislative Council we have, right? And at the central level, we have two houses. That is called as bicameralism. And this bicameralism is 100% compulsory at the central level, but it is not in this case of state. So now the states, they have choice. If they want to have the both houses, they can have. If they want only single house, that is assembly, they can have. It is a choice for the state. Okay. So because of this, there are very less, only 6 states in our country that are having the both houses, and remaining states they don't have. Okay. So what happens here is, whenever any bill made by legislature, if it's want to become an act, what is the process here? The process here is, first of all, they have to introduce in one house 1. In that house, they will go for debate, discussions and voting. And after that, what happens? If this bill is passed in first house, that will be placed in second house. And in the second house also the same procedure. Debates will happen, discussions will happen and voting will happen. And after, once this bill is passed, even the second house, where it will be going? It will be going to the president. Okay, I am telling in the case of union level. Okay. Okay, bill will be presented before the president, and if the bill is signed by the president, and that bill is going to become an act. So this is the process now. So actually what happens in the state? In the state also the same thing. But here instead of president, who will be there? Governor. Okay. So here I hope why I said about the governor, because the governor is there here. So now what is happening in the state of Tamil Nadu is, okay, let us go to this page itself. And whenever this bill which came to governor, he will be having certain choices. He can directly sign, or he can reconsider that bill. He can make that bill to be sent to the president, and sometimes he can reject the bill. So that is a power of the governor, and that power is said in this Article 200. So now what is the issue here is, in Tamil Nadu state, so whenever the bills are passed by the houses in Tamil Nadu, and whenever they are going to the governor is silent on that bill, is not taking any action. There are around 10 bills which had been withholded by this governor, and is not taking any action. Okay, so if he is not taking action, what happened? Again this state, that is nothing but again this legislature went for repassing of that bills. Even after the repassing of that bills also, he is not taking any action. So that is the issue. And finally this issue went to Supreme Court. And finally now Supreme Court gave the judgment on this power of governor of Tamil Nadu. So because of this is in news. Okay. So I said about what the Supreme Court does. Okay, that is nothing but role of judiciary here. And next one I said about what is the issue in Tamil Nadu. And I said about assent, that is nothing but Article 200. I hope you understand the brief background. And now what is your work? You have to see about what Supreme Court said in this judgment of Tamil Nadu governor. Clear? So this is the thing that you have to recall, or that you have to know before reading any article. You have to know the brief background and what is a static thing which is present in your syllabus, so that you can easily connect with what is happening now. Okay, now if you see this article, so Supreme Court slammed Tamil Nadu governor, and his name is R.N. Ravi's conduct. And here Supreme Court said that whatever thing that you are doing, is that according to constitution? No, it is not according to constitution. So what is the work of judiciary that we saw here? The judiciary work is, it will be interpreting the laws. It will be interpreting the conduct of the people. If it is not according to constitution, what it will say? It is saying that null and void or unconstitutional. So here the same thing which is said in the Supreme Court judgment, that yes, Tamil Nadu governor, so whatever the work he is doing, it is not according to constitution, so it is null and void. It is unconstitutional. So why? Because of the conduct of this so-and-so governor, that is nothing but he is not taking any action in 10 key bills. Okay, now if you see the details clearly, what it is saying, that the Supreme Court noted that governor failed to act for months. So from last few months onwards, he is not taking any action, even after repassing of the same bills. Okay, so because of this case went under judicial scrutiny now. And top court said that 10 bills to have received assent, declaring the actions of even president also. President gave only assent to only one key bill in that 10. And president rejected 7 bills. And even 2 bills have not yet been considered so far. So because of this, what are the action taken by our president is also unconstitutional. So this is a thing which mainly said by Supreme Court now. And if you see here, what is the advice which given by Supreme Court is, Supreme Court said that governor must be a friend, guide and philosopher to state. Okay, very important statement right now. So Supreme Court said governor should be friend, guide and philosopher to the state, not a hindrance. So here in this case of Tamil Nadu, what happened? Governor is stopping to pass that bills. That means nothing but he is acting as a hindrance here. Okay, that is the thing which mainly said in this article. So remember that thing, it is more than enough. And now you have to see some basics of this article 200. And you may get a question regarding this assent, or like what are the powers of governor whenever the bill comes to him. So which article is saying about the power of the governor? That is article 200. So here you may get a question like recently article 200 is in use. What it talks about? Talks about what? Powers of a governor regarding the giving of assent to a bill. So actually this article 200 of Indian Constitution, which says about the purpose of the bill passed by the Legislative Assembly of a state to be presented to the governor for assent. So whenever he is getting that bill for his assent, so what are the powers he have? He can give the assent, or he can withhold assent, or sometimes he can reserve that bill for the consideration by the president, or sometimes he may also return the bill back. Okay, so these are the powers of the governor under article 200. And now what happens if the pending of the bills are happening in the state, especially whenever state government want to make the laws. So it has to pass in the houses and it has to get the assent. So if they're not getting the assent, whether the bill is passed? No, right? So what happens? There will be delay in the decision making, very important. There will be delay in decision making. And next one here is, it also undermines the democratic process. And next one here is, so from the public perception point of view, if the bills are pending at the governor, then what happens? So here they will think that there is corruption which is happening in the governance making process, and even the government reputation will be falling down and the people will be losing the trust. And next one is, there is lack of accountability. We can understand this. So these are the problems that we can get if the bills are being pending. Okay. So now let us see the next article, very, very important. So RGI, that is nothing but Registrar General of India. RGI, Registrar General of India, flags delay by hospitals in reporting births and deaths. So to understand this topic, you have to go back to 2024 Act. So last year, one important act which had been passed. Actually, that bill was presented in the House in 2023 and finally it got assent in 2024. And that act which mainly talks about registration of births and deaths. Okay, so if you see what is happening in the society is, so where this births and deaths happens, normally in the hospital, right? Okay. So if you want to get birth certificate, directly will the hospital will give you the birth certificate? No, you have to take the letter from the hospital and you have to give it to the so-and-so office in your so-and-so area, and after that they will be giving you the birth certificate, right? So government will be giving the birth certificate directly. This hospital people will not give the birth certificate, right? So actually this article is saying that Registrar General of India office, which is cautioned both private and government hospitals that they must report the incidents of birth or death within 21 days. And after it was found that many medical institutions, they are not following this law, delaying the universal registration. So actually what happens, if you want to get the proper data of Indians or citizens of our country, we need to have the proper death rates and as well as birth data, right? So normally in hospitals only we can say this births and deaths will happen. So here this new act which said that either it may be like government hospital or private hospital, they have to report the death to the government directly. And it's only sometimes, even in some villages, we can see births will also happen in the home deliveries will also happen. Sometimes it may also happens in hotels. Sometimes it may happen at the place of work. So whenever the births are happening at the place of work, so now the owner of that so-and-so thing is responsible for reporting that. So that is a thing which had been included in the new act. But now here what is happening here is, so now many government hospitals and private hospitals, they are not following this. Why? Because they are asking the relatives of that so-and-so baby who is born or the person who died to register in the government. So because of this, what happened? So whatever the act we came up with, so there is no proper awareness of the act in the people. And even officers like public hospital officers and private hospital people, they are not following this act. That is the thing which mainly said. Okay, now let us see this article, and actually it is very important. It is talking about registration. What is the keyword? Registration of birth and deaths. It is about registration of births and deaths. So which subject you will be seeing about? So from GS paper 1 under geography, we have human geography, right? So in this human geography, when we discussed about our syllabus and micro listing of topics, there I said about age pyramids. There I said about demographic dividend. So from that point of view, you have to see this topic. And apart from that, we can also see this topic from GS paper 3 under economy. So from economy, what you can see here, so whenever we are having good demographic dividend, they will be doing economic activities and finally they will be contributing to our GDP. So from that point of view, you can see. And apart from that, we are talking about one new act. So this act is part of our GS paper 2 under governance. So what you have to see particularly is about this act. So what is this act is about? What are the features of this act? So you may get a direct question, and this act is passed in year 2024. Okay, so those things that you have to see, and let us see those clearly. Okay, so if you see this article, it is saying that Registrar General of India office said that around 90% of births and as well as deaths events, they are getting registered in India. And this office is also saying that we are having a concern that there is no 100% of registration of births and deaths. So what happens if 100% of deaths which had been not registered means? What happens? So already mostly the old people, they will be getting pensions, and widow people, they will be getting pensions. And actually, if the deaths are not registered means, what happens? They will be not entitled to get even government schemes, everything, right? So for that, what happens? We cannot ensure proper service delivery to the people. So for that, 100% registration of deaths is very, very important. And even you know that whenever elections are happening, voter turnout will be like 60 to 70% only. Why? One important reason here is most of them are dead, but their voter IDs have not yet been removed properly. Okay, so because of this, what happens? The voter turnout will be getting affected. So because of this, we need 100% registration of births and as well as deaths for sure, so that we can maintain the clear-cut data of who are alive in India. Okay. So if you see, what is that act? That act is Registration of Births and Deaths Amendment Act of 2023. Actually, the bill is 2023 and act is 2024. So change that once. And actually, according to this, what it is saying that you need birth certificates. Birth certificate can be considered as a single document for availing of certain services. Like if you want to get admissions in the education institutions now, if you want to get, especially if you want to join any of your kids in the schools, they will ask for sure birth certificate. Why? Because recently one change happened. Do you know this? So if they are getting 5 years, then only they are eligible to do first class. And even in Kerala, that had been increased to 6 years recently, just 10 to 15 days ago. So like that, for this age confirmation, what we need? Birth certificate. And next one here is for issuing of driving license. How many of you have driving license? And how many of you are driving without license? Achinda? Okay, for that also, for age proof, they are asking birth certificates now. And even for preparation of voter list, so at what age you will be getting voter card? At what age? 18. So for that, again, confirmation we need this birth certificates, and even for Aadhaar number, for registration of marriage, for appointment to a government job, anything, now this birth certificate is compulsory. How many of you have this birth certificate? Ille? Leda? Okay. Okay, so for this, we need a database, national database, right? So under this act, they said that we are going to create national database so that we can register births and as well as deaths. Okay, so what are the features? The first one here is this act is providing full authority for this Registrar General of India, RGI. So because of this, now RGI is giving caution for this public and government hospital. Why? This act given complete authority for this Registrar General of India to see and to maintain about the national registry of our Indians regarding births and as well as deaths. So here also draw this diagram. So here in this act, it said about three important things. First one is we have RGI, that is Registrar General of India will be at central level. And state level we have Chief Registrar. And at this district level we have, so it is central level, it is state level, and it is district level, we have registrars. So this is the power of the persons regarding maintenance of this database and registration of deaths and as well as births. So this act is mandating that Registrar General of India will be overseeing national registry of births and deaths, and chief registrars will be appointed by the state at the state level, and registrars will be appointed by the states for local level. Okay, and they will be contribute the data for this national database. And next one here is, yes, the medical officers in charge of hospital where a baby is born, they have to report the birth now. So whenever they are reporting the birth, so they will be also taking the Aadhaar card numbers of parents, mother and father, and they will be attaching to that. And this rule which also says that if births are happening in any jail or in any lodge or any hotel or any workplace, now it is a responsibility of the head or the manager. They have to provide the relevant information to the government regarding the births. So if it is having in hospital, the medical officer will do that. If it is happening outside, so who is the authority of that so-and-so organization, they have to report about the birth. And next one here is this list have been further expanded now, including adoptive parents for non-institutional adoption. So if they are not going to the CARA, if they are going for unauthorized or non-institutional adoption also, they have to report it. And even, do you know about the surrogacy? Surrogacy is nothing but taking rent of womb. So in the case of surrogacy, biological parents, they have to go for reporting if they are not going for institutional birth. If they're going for hospital delivery, hospital will be taking that. So if this, in the case of surrogacy, it is the biological mother. That means nothing but the woman who is giving the birth to that child need to report about the birth of that baby to the government if it is happening in the home. That is called as home deliveries. Okay, next one here is this act which also allows for sharing of national database with authorized authorities like population registrars, electoral rolls and others, so that it will be getting the government approval. For example, if you want to get Aadhaar card or if you want to get any central government job, so actually what happens? So this national database can be also shared with the central government purpose. And yeah, that is the thing. So remember these things, it is more than enough. And next article, see here. India UAE to deepen defense cooperation. So this article is talking about India UAE relations. India UAE relations. So from which subject you will be seeing this, guys? Whenever you are talking about relationship of India with other country, it comes under IR. GS paper 2 under international relations. So what you have to see whenever there is any other country in the news means, first open your atlas and you have to see the map. And how many of you buy this atlas so far? So don't buy this Oxford Atlas. So buy this Orient Black Swan. So in Oxford, you can't see each and every place. So in Orient Black Swan, you can see the places clearly, and they had been mentioned very clearly in that. So if you are going to take this Atlas, so try to take this Orient Black Swan, okay, not Oxford. Okay, so first you have to see about the map, and in the map, what you have to focus on? Bordering countries. You have to see about bordering countries and whether there are any nearby water bodies. Okay, water bodies, seas, or any rivers or any important lakes in that area, you have to see that. And next important thing here is whether there are any choke points nearby. So about these choke points, your international relations sir will be telling. So choke points are nothing but very important trade routes through which most of our world trade will happen. I'll give you some examples of these choke points. For example, Strait of Malacca, Strait of Hormuz. So like that, in these areas, there are like very little passes through which most of the world's trade which happens. They are called as choke points. You have to see whether that location is near to these choke points or not. And next, if there is any country in news, you have to see about what is that country economy dependent on. For example, India's economy is dependent upon agriculture and service sector, right? So you have to see what is that country's economy is dependent. For example, there are some countries which are dependent on tourism sector. Some countries are dependent on oils, natural gas. So like that, you have to see. So why you have to see economy? So if you see the economy of that country, then only we can understand if you are making friendship with this guy, so what we are going to expect. For example, you can apply in your own life also. Have you ever observed your friends? So why you will be making friends of that person? For example, he is rich, you'll be getting chocolates, you'll be getting parties, and if you want anything, you can borrow from him, right? Yes or no? For example, you will be making friendship with the guy who will be like more talented than you. That means you can also get some knowledge sharing person like that. So friendship is not like it will go blindly. Yes or no? It is like we'll expect something from that guy, so that we will be making friendship. He's my best friend because he'll give chocolates, because he'll help me in writing homeworks, like that. Yes. Okay. So you have to see like what is the economy of that country, so that what we are going to expect in return. So actually, if you see this UAE, it is present in Arab Peninsula. It is like very much rich in crude oil and as well as natural gas. Do we need that for sure? Yes, why? We don't have that much crude oil in our country. And for maintaining of energy security, yes, we need this country. Okay? And even you have to see like whether this country is technologically advanced or not. That is nothing but developed country or not. Developed country means what we can expect? We can expect technology transfer from that, so that will be helpful for advancements in our country. So like that, we have to see the economy. And next important thing you have to focus is areas of cooperation. So in which areas we have good relations with that country. And every time everything will goes good, sometimes little issues will come between you and your friend. In the same way, we will be having certain challenges. So you have to see what are the challenges, and you have to see what is a way forward, like what we can do for decreasing of issues or conflicts between the countries. So all these areas that you have to focus. And now let us see what this article is saying clearly. So this article is saying that India and UAE agreed that close cooperation between the defense industries should be an integral part of bilateral cooperation. The government said in the press note after Defense Minister met visiting Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister of UAE. So what is this article saying? That they want to improve their relationship in defense. Okay, so if you are comparing with the defense of India and UAE, which is advanced, India is advanced. That means even now we started exporting of which missile? BrahMos missile to Philippines. And actually they want to get this BrahMos missiles from India. And even other Arab countries, they made a proposal that yes, we are going to get this BrahMos missile from India. So that's what this article is saying indirectly. Okay, so that is the thing. And even two leaders, they express satisfaction on active Coast Guard to Coast Guard cooperation, and further they want to improve this same through this memorandum of understanding. And even they want to have comprehensive strategic partnership with this UAE. It is also one of the important priority. And they want to focus on defense cooperation, co-production, co-development, innovation, and technology. Okay, so all these things are there here. That means indirectly they want to improve defense cooperation, and India and UAE, they have to come together and they have to do developmental projects in this defense. So that's the thing which mainly said. But if you see recently, in September 2024, UAE king came to India. Okay, so if you have remember or if you have recall the current affairs of September month 2024, at that time we discussed that UAE king came to India. At that time we made lots of advancements in relations. So you have to see that also, and you have to add that part. So what are the things that we had discussed at that time is, first one is we are focusing on nuclear energy cooperation. First one is they made an agreement regarding especially small modular reactors. So in our nuclear technology topic of science and technology, when we discussed about micro topics, I said about small modular reactors, fast breeder reactors, like that. So here they are focusing on especially small modular reactors. And next one here is they are focusing on liquefied natural gas supply agreement. So is there anything which is in news in yesterday's regarding LNG? Yes, there is increased price of liquefied LPG gas, right? So if you are having this kind of agreement with this country, can we get more energy or more supply? Obviously, can we decrease the prices? Yes. And next one here is we are also had a talk regarding strategic petroleum reserves. So I said that in India we have three important strategic petroleum reserves where we can store huge amount of the crude oil. So regarding that also there is an agreement. And next one here is we are focusing on developmental projects also between India and UAE. So these are the things that had been already done in the visit. So you have to add this for this article. Okay. And now let us see the next article. See this title. Modi says 52 crore loans given under Mudra. So what is the keyword? Keyword is Mudra. Is Mudra any scheme? Yes, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. Guys, for this batch, I gave this work of doing of schemes of 58 ministries. So in that, one ministry scheme is Mudra Yojana. Can you recall the scheme? Okay. So whenever you are getting any schemes in the news, what you have to see is, first of all, you have to see what is the full form. Here, PM means Pradhan Mantri, so okay, everyone knows that. You have to see what is this Mudra full form. And next, you have to see about what are the specific features of this scheme. And you have to see whether it is centrally sponsored or central sector scheme. And next you have to see like any specific types in this. So actually in this Mudra we have three types, Shashi, Tarun and Kishore. What is that? You have to see. And next you have to see about what are the advantages and what are the challenges of this scheme. So if you cover all these things, then your work is done, guys. And even you have to see under which ministry it comes. Okay, so if you see this article, what is this title is saying that Prime Minister interacting with beneficiaries on 10th anniversary. So this year marks the 10th anniversary of this Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana. And actually in this meeting, our Prime Minister, he made a very big statement that because of this scheme, several dreams turned into reality. And this scheme which helpful for especially empowering of people. So what is the scheme? Actually under this scheme, government will be giving loans. So if it is, this year is 10-year anniversary, so when it was started in 2015. So if you see the facts regarding this Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, so this scheme was launched in year 2015, and under this scheme they are providing loans up to 10 lakh rupees to non-corporates and as well as non-farm, small or micro enterprises. They want to improve entrepreneurship through this scheme. If they are providing loans, so you'll be taking loans and you will be starting small businesses, right? That is called as entrepreneurship. So through this scheme, government wants to improve startups. Okay. And it provides funding to non-corporate small business sector through various last mile financial institutions. Like even banks are providing it, and non-banking financial companies and mutual finance institutions, they are providing this. Under this, we have three: Shishu, Kishore and Tarun. So Shishu is nothing but loans will be given up to 50,000 rupees, and Kishore is from 50,000 rupees to 5 lakhs they'll give loan, and Tarun they'll give loan from 5 lakhs rupees to 10 lakh rupees. And now let us see the next article. Title says genome study, 180 million genetic variants found in 9,772 individuals. So actually this article is talking about Genome India project. Okay, so this article is talking about Genome India project. So from which subject you can see, guys? From GS paper 3 under Science and Technology. Apart from this, from your anthropology, which topic we know? In anthropology, in paper 1, which chapter is talking about this? Genetics. That is chapter 9. So your chapter 9 of paper 1 of anthropology is also having this topic, that is Genome India project. Okay, so what you have to see? You have to see about what is DNA. So DNA is nothing but, what is DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Where it is present? According to DNA, where it will be present? So if you take a cell, inside the cell what we have? Nucleus. In this nucleus, the condensed material is called as normally DNA. So actually if you see this material, that is genetic material, we can see the formation of this chromosome will happen whenever cell division happens. So in this chromosomes, so we will be having this coiled structure, and this coiled structure is our DNA. And this will be double helix structure like this. It is having hydrogen bonds. And how many hydrogen bonds will be there in one helix? 10 hydrogen bonds will be there. Okay, so this is DNA. Then what is genome? Genome is nothing but entire genetic material which is present in that cell. It is called as genome. Okay, so here you have to know about what is genome, what is DNA, and what is this project is about, what are the aims and objectives of this project. So here in this 2025 prelims, you are expecting a question on this Genome India project because it is a successful project in India so far. Okay, so if you see about this Genome India project, which had been started by or initiated by Department of Biotechnology, in which year? In 2020. And actually the important objective it is to collect genomic data of Indians. Okay, they want to see about the genetic variations that reflects unique diversity of our Indian population. And what is a genome? Genome is nothing but the entire set of genetic material in an organism is called as genome. And we are going for extracting of DNA, and we are going to identify the sequence of nucleotides. We have nucleotides, that is nothing but ATGC. So we are going to see the sequence of that in the people. So why we need to have this? Why we have to identify this? Because as you all know that mostly 99% of DNA will be same, but only 1% of variation which happens, right? So with that variations, what happens? There is changing of color, there is changing of stature, there is changing of biological things. Okay, so have you ever identified if some people, they had even one full bottle also, they will be very steady. But even some people, if they're having just 2 pegs or 3 pegs, will they maintain the gait? Will they maintain the posture? No. That is because of genetic variance. For example, there are certain people who are very much resistant to heat. Some people, they are very sensitive to heat. Some people, there are some lots of reels, especially in the summer season when it starts. So they will be showing like very white and very sensitive skin. If they go out and if they come back, black tanning. If some people, they go out, they will work in the sun day and night, but even though there will be no change of the skin tone, yes or no, that means nothing but there is certain genes, they are getting variated. So here, because of whenever we are having this genome sequencing and whenever you are having the database of the genes of the people, so it will be helpful in the medical research. So we can understand like which kind of diseases which are there in that so and so population. So if you're studying about certain tribes are very much resistant to malaria because of sickle cell anemia, but it is not in the case of mainstream society. Okay, so we can understand the genetic disorders, and also we will be having lots of applications, like we can detect the new diseases, and we can also go for cancer research, and as well as we can go for precision medicine. And apart from that, we can also tackle the pathogens during certain outbreaks. For example, recently COVID-19 happened. So in future, if you're getting this kind of disease, so if you're having the genomic data, we can identify which people will be getting more susceptible, which people are more vulnerable, and which people can withstand that certain conditions. And this one is, yes, for some people, do you know certain people will be having allergy if they take brinjal or if they take certain kinds of vegetables, right? So if we know that data, like which kind of people are susceptible to which kind of foods, if they eat something, they will be getting diarrhea. If they eat something, they will be getting allergy on their skin. Have you ever observed like some people in your family, they are getting that kind of things? That means nothing but they are sensitive to allergens. So based on that, we can go for improving of crop varieties. That will be helpful for agriculture science based on the genes of the people. And this one here is, we can also focus on biodiversity conservation. So these are the applications of studying of genomes of people. And now let us see the next article. Title says, Sky Met Forecast, Normal Monsoon La Nina Week. So exactly, I think 1 week ago, we discussed the same thing, but it was IMD. What it said? We are going to have El Nino, which is opposite phenomena. Actually, the SkyMet is not government. It is a private weather forecasting organization. And now it came up with an estimate that, yes, we are going to have the La Nina only this year. Okay, we have to wait and see. Until then, you have to see what is this El Nino and what is La Nina. We discussed very clearly in the last class. Okay, now let us see the next article. Very, very important. Keep star mark. A regional revival. So recently, BIMSTEC 6th summit happened in Thailand. So in that summit, India is also participated. So I said, in your international relations, you will be getting 3 questions, right? From international relations, you will be getting 3 questions. First one is from India and its neighborhood. Next one is India and bilateral relations. And third one is India and organizations. So whenever there is any summit in that year, whenever there is any suggestion which is given by India regarding that so-and-so organization, that will be very important. And now this is very important because India came up with 21-point solution here. So because of this, it will be very, very important this year. And it is talking about BIMSTEC. So you have to see full form of this organization, and you have to see members, what are the aims and objectives of this. And next one is, you have to see what is the India's role and what suggestions which gave by India to that so-and-so organization you have to see. And next one is, what are the final outcome of this summit? What is the final outcome? So you have to cover this from all these areas. Now let us see this clearly. Okay. So recently 6th summit of this BIMSTEC, that is nothing but Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation. The full form of this BIMSTEC is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral, Technical and Economic Cooperation, where it happened in Thailand. Okay, and for this our Prime Minister, he visited and he attended that summit. So actually here our Prime Minister, he proposed 21-point action plan. And the major things which I gave here is, the first one is regarding mitigation and disaster management. Especially he said that the countries which are the members of this BIMSTEC, they have to cooperate in disaster management, disaster relief and disaster rehabilitation. And we have to focus on disaster management as well, okay, together. And next one, very important, he also came up with a program that is called as BODI. BODI is nothing but BIMSTEC for Organized Development of Human Resource Infrastructure. So what it is focusing on? It is focusing on training and scholarship programs for students, for professionals, researchers, diplomats and others. And they want to give skill for or training for 300 youth from this BIMSTEC countries in India every year. Okay, next one is we want to improve people-to-people linkages. So how we can improve the relations? By conducting some tournaments, athletes meet, games and traditional music festivals like that. And next one is we are also focusing on youth-focused initiatives. Okay, for example, we are focusing on digital public infrastructure, cancer care capacity building and even commerce and business. And we are focusing on improving of connectivity by this UPI services. Like that, we want to improve this youth-based initiatives. And even in the regarding the space sector also, we want to move forward. Especially in types of satellites, we have big satellites, medium satellites, small satellites, nano satellites. So we are focusing on building of nano satellites for this member of BIMSTEC. So that what happens, there is a remote sensing sharing and as well as sharing of data. And next one is we are focusing on sustainable maritime transport center also. So that what happens, we can increase trade and as well as we can increase coordination, cooperation between these countries. Okay, so these are the 21 important points of action which had been proposed by our Prime Minister. And now what are the outcomes of the summit? The first one is finally at the end of the summit, they will be saying the outcomes, no? Summary. So what is that summary here is, the first one is they came up with this BIMSTEC Bangkok vision. Why Bangkok? Because it happened in this Thailand. So it is the first long-term plan to make BIMSTEC more prosperous, more strong and open by year 2030. And what's this vision is about? They want to improve trade between the countries and they want to improve connectivity through transport links, and even they want to focus on people's safety and as well as well-being. And this one is we are focusing on rules of procedure for BIMSTEC. So we came up with the clear-cut rules like how these countries need to function. And this one here is they are also coming up by this BIMSTEC eminent person group. Okay, and next one here is they want to go for an agreement for maritime transport cooperation. So that they want to reduce the shipping cost, increasing of trade, make trade faster and easier movement of goods and the people across this countries of this BIMSTEC. And if you see some facts regarding this BIMSTEC, when this BIMSTEC came into existence in year 1997, after signing of one declaration called as Bangkok Declaration. So this organization which mainly formed. And actually this organization which mainly unites Southeast Asian countries which are bordering this Bay of Bengal region. So whenever this was formed in 1997, so which were the countries? There are 4 countries, they are the grouping. There is nothing but Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka and Thailand. And currently there are 7 members. Which are those members? That is Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka and Thailand. And you have to remember these names. And the important objective here it is economic cooperation. That means nothing but it will be focusing on economic growth and development. Okay, so that is about this BIMSTEC. And now let us see the last article of the day. It is talking about why is active mobility necessary in India. What is active mobility? Mobility is nothing but movement. So for movement of people, what are the things that we are using now? We have different modes of transport. Like we have waterways, we have roadways, we have railways, etc. Okay, pipeline is also there, let it be. So what is happening? So have you ever seen this one small video which became very viral in some movies? Like one person wants to go to Tirupati, but he board the bus. So in that bus, he'll be moving here and there. So if someone who are sitting in that bus asking like why you are moving here and there, then that person will reply that I had a name that I have to go to Tirupati on my foot, so that after boarding of bus I am walking here. So is that an active mobility? So normally, have you ever had this experience of reaching any place on your foot? For example, if you go to your schools at that time, so what is the mode of transport that will be used that time? So I used to go on my foot. So I used to go on walk only. So or else like I will be using the bicycle. So do you have this experience of using of bicycles to go to school? Yes, right? Okay. So here this article is saying that whenever you are using your body, especially for reaching any place, it is called as active mode of transport or active mobility. For example, you can walk or you can use bicycles rather than using of vehicles which will run on taking certain fuel like petrol or diesel. So why this active mobility is important? So if you are walking or if you are riding a bicycle, is that advantage to your body? Your body will be getting your body will be doing some physical activity. So whenever your body is doing certain physical activity, is it helpful for you or not? What happens? There is decreasing of fat deposition in unnecessary places. Right? So that what happens? There will be decreasing of incidence of getting diseases like hypertension, diabetes, everything, etc. Right? So that's the thing which mainly said here. So actually there are certain reports which are saying that there is high risk of cardiovascular diseases, diabetes mellitus, at least 1 out of 4 are getting diabetes mellitus in India, right? So if you want to control that NCDs, that is non-communicable diseases, we have to promote this active mobility. Okay, so that is about this topic, guys. That's it, nothing more about that. So these are the important topics that happened in our today's Hindi newspaper. So by this I'm concluding, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this class for sure, so please hit the like button and please do share this class, and don't forget to subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy.